in a row. They feel as if they still have a chance to make something special out of this season. And we've been talking all year in the Big 12 about the youth in this league, and there's a lot of talent, underclassmen, but it's the upperclassmen right now for Oklahoma State that are powering the Pokes.
Doing a great job, and it starts with Phil Forte, who this week made more threes than anybody in the history of Oklahoma State. 300 threes in his career. Been a terrific player. Young man out of Flower Mound, Texas. Came here 5 years ago. Another Dallas guy, Jeffrey Carroll, the most improved player in the Big 12 and one of the most improved players in the country, scoring very efficiently from behind the arc and in the lane. He reminds me of a young Klay Thompson.
Jordan Woodard was a non-factor in Saturday afternoon's Big 12 SEC showdown loss to Florida. Outside of that loss, though, Woodard has been the catalyst every time that Oklahoma has put together a competitive stretch to their season. And what a great point guard matchup. Again, here they go to square off all night. Jawun Evans and Jordan Woodard.
Right off the bat, Oklahoma switches on to Evans, and they'll do that in this defense. At times it'll look like a matchup zone.
Carroll, wild shot across the lane. Out of bounds, it'll stay with the Pokes to start.
Cowboys in the last 3 games are outscoring their opponents by 20 plus. They've made some defensive adjustments, and as we mentioned, the veterans playing very well.
Shot clock under 10 as that shot from Carroll didn't hit the rim. He's got it again. 5 to shoot. Pulls up. That's blocked out of bounds by Kadeem Lattin with 3 on the timer.
Kadeem Lattin, a starter on that Final Four team a year ago, already 4th in Oklahoma history in block shots. Saw it right there.
Phil Forte wastes no time. Comes up short. Offensive rebound by Carroll.
And that ball just grazed the rim, Bob, so they get a new shot clock.
Evans will drive it and score the game's first points.
Well, they run an offense called the spread, and they really utilize the elbow area to hit and cut. Good example right there.
Lattin in the post. He gets the Sooners on the board.
Amazing stat. Last 2 games, Sooners with only 7 assists, 24 turnovers.
Forte. In, out, and right back in again for 3.
I asked him today, you're 7th all-time in assists in the Big 12. Who's number 6? He said, I have no idea, Coach. No idea.
That's 301 career threes now for Phil Forte. Passed Heaton Page for the all-time Oklahoma State lead in their last game. And there is a freshman that has made an impact, to say the least. Cam McGusty with his first bucket. Evans goes coast to coast. Rejection number 2 for Kadeem Lattin. McGusty pulls up. 5 in a row. Check that, 4 in a row. A long 2 for McGusty. Toe on the line. And Oklahoma's got the lead back.
So much fun, Bob. We've watched a lot of Oklahoma lately. And although they've struggled, we're seeing the future before our eyes. This is one of the younger teams in the country. 8 freshmen and sophomores in the rotation.
Odoms couldn't save it. 14 to shoot for the Cowboys. Carroll for 3. Way off the mark.
Boy, Carroll's had 3 attempts at the basket, none of them close. 2 drives, and then the contested 3. I'd say Oklahoma with the more sense of urgency. This team has won 7 straight in this series.
Reach in foul call, and this it looks as if it will go against Phil Forte. Odom sets up McGusty. Jawun Evans, who averages about 3 rebounds per game, pulls it down. And Forte attacks at the other end. Outside for a line drive 3 that won't go for Leighton Hammonds. Doolittle. Yes.
Now, this is another guy, freshman, that's getting a lot of minutes and a lot of production for Lon Kruger.
Jawaan Evans will go to the line. Off a made basket, Evans can get the ball north to south about as fast as any guard in America, much less in the Big 12. He attacks, and he forced Kadeem Latin into a foul.
Well, it's interesting. Today, the Cousy Award Final 10 came out. Jawaan Evans was not in the Final 10. It's hard to argue with those 10 players, two Big 12 players, Monte Morris and Frank Mason. But this young guy has had a tremendous year. Been over 33 different times. You get 30 against Carolina, you're doing something.
Actually charged that foul to Rashard Odoms. Well, he is number 2 in the Big 12 in points and number 2 in the Big 12 in assists. It's hard to believe that you could be number 2 in scoring and assists in arguably the deepest point guard league in America, and not be one of the 10 finalists for the Cousy Award.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really hard to think about who you would take off that roster. You know, the 4 freshmen, Markelle Fultz, De'Aaron Fox, obviously, Lonzo Ball, Mason. A lot of good players at that spot this year in college basketball.
Shot clock down to 5.
He's going to shoot it.
He has to. In and out. Woodard can't hit. The rebound pulled down by Devon Dillard, who has just come on for Oklahoma State. He's been terrific as Jawaan Evans works his way back to the line. Another role player that's found a spot in Brad Underwood's rotation.
Absolutely. He didn't play very many minutes last year, and it wasn't because of injury. Just the previous staff didn't think he was ready to play. And Bob, we watched him practice in December. I loved his intensity, and we saw him have a really good game at Kansas and worked his way into the rotation. Now, one thing for Oklahoma, early in this game, you have got to get back and build your defense from the lane out, because Jawaan Evans is too dangerous in the open court to allow him to get to the rim.
All right, Reese, thanks very much. Oklahoma with a 1-point lead early here in Bedlam. It is Big Monday. Bob Wischusen here with Fran Fraschilla and Norman. And Fran, the pace we expected between these two teams to start. Both are attacking the basket. And Oklahoma State with Jawaan Evans at the free throw line. They have won 3 in a row, all by double figures. Haven't trailed at any point in any of those 3 games. And they feel like they can rebound from a bad start and not only make something of their season, but right now Joe Lunardi has them right on the bubble for the NCAA tournament. McGusty knocks down a jumper for the Sooners.
Boy, as badly as Oklahoma needs a win, and we've said this many times, there is a lot of young talent on this roster.
Evans comes up short, but there's the role player that we've seen make an impact of late, Devon Dillard. He'll try a 3.
Now, watch what Oklahoma State does. They've adjusted their defense the last 3 games. They're trying to keep the ball out of the lane and not denying as much.
Stepping on the sideline as Christian James with the first turnover for either team. And Oklahoma's got the early 2-point lead. It is Bedlam, and regardless of the records for both of these teams, this is always one of the best rivalry games in college basketball. Bob Wischusen and Fran Fraschilla, happy you can be here with us. And again, it's an Oklahoma State team that feels like their season is starting to turn the corner. They've won 3 in a row. Now, we've talked all year in the Big 12 about the depth of youth talent, underclassmen that have made impacts, but it's a couple of upperclassmen that have really turned this season around of late for the Cowboys.
And remember, they've bought into a new coach who has a system they really like. Phil Forte has been here seemingly forever, and this past weekend, he became the all-time 3-point shooter in Cowboy history. And then Jeffrey Carroll, the junior, 6'6" wing player, arguably, in my opinion, the most improved player and one of the most improved players in college basketball. And we talked to the Oklahoma State staff last night. They love the direction of the team. And we'll talk about the adjustments they've made, Bob, defensively last 3 games, because it's really been eye-opening.
And you can see Joe Lunardi right now has Oklahoma State, I mean right on the proverbial bubble, as one of the last 4 teams in to the NCAA tournament field. For Oklahoma and Lon Kruger, obviously it is a rebuilding project. Brad Underwood trying to do the same at Oklahoma State. For the Sooners, they've lost 3 in a row. They have 3 losses this year.
Okay, we're back here on SportsCenter. If you want to see Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, you can switch over to ESPN. We have plenty of college hoops here with Max and the coach.
Well, right now, I feel the star power in the room it's real. Jay Williams, Seth Greenberg standing by to discuss our big college game of the night. That is Duke. That is Notre Dame, the Dukies, coming off a big win over Wake Forest. How about Grayson Allen? Courtesy Luke Kennard for 3. Allen, a really nice game. 21 points. Check out the pass one more time in slow-mo. Through the defender's legs and to Grayson Allen, who was 3 for 7 for 3. Allen with our Allison Williams after the game.
Grayson, there was a lot of talk coming into this game about getting back to playing Duke defense. What did you see on that end of the court?
I thought we did a good job of it. I mean, we held them to 20-something points in the first half. And
to the paint a little too easily. Oklahoma likes to switch in their man-to-man. They also play a matchup zone that looks like man-to-man.
Evans sets up Gasson, who's able to lay it in.
Gasson coming off a nice performance against Arkansas on Saturday, and a nice dime drop there by Evans.
And McGusty has his pocket picked by Juwan Evans. Evans gives it up. And traveling with the basketball was Leighton Hammonds. Got caught under the bucket, off balance. That's the first OU turnover. Oklahoma State turnover, pardon me.
In the last 2 games, Oklahoma with only 7 assists versus 24 turnovers, so they have to be more efficient.
Jordan Woodard, too strong. And nearly got a steal as Hammonds got a little lazy under the basket. And Brad Underwood, 3 years, of course, the head coach, Stephen F. Austin, before heading to Stillwater. All 3 years, he was the Southland Conference Coach of the Year, and now takes over this Cowboy program. And of course, Lon Kruger, you've talked about it when we've had OU games this year, that there are few better at rebuilding projects than Coach Kruger. He loses Buddy Hield, loses Isaiah Cousins, the veteran toughness in the front court of Ryan Spangler, and he's trying to bring this young group along.
And he's done it six different schools, Bob, and while this has not been an easy year, there are lots of similarities to the team that he took to the Final Four when they were freshmen. Oklahoma State, good patience. They used that weak side elbow. Look at Gasson, 7-footer.
Missing offensive rebound, Leighton Hammonds.
I just want to say Gasson all night.
I can't wait to keep that alive. There is Lucas
Gasson
on the offensive glass. Well done.
Young man from the Netherlands by way of the Canarias Basketball Academy. I'll give you a hint where that is. Canary Islands. Pay attention, Bob. You'll learn a lot of geography.
I just like to sit and listen. James for 3. And one of, if not the most improved player in this league, Jeffrey Carroll, pulls down the rebound.
Watch them work the ball down. Watch Gasson at the elbow. Little handoff. Little roll.
A steal by James. Christian James crosses over and draws the foul. Lucas Gasson working the offensive glass, the 7-foot freshman who speaks 4 languages fluently and obviously knows his way around the rim as well.
Absolutely. Started a bunch of games early, now coming off the bench. I'll tell you, Brad Underwood put together a pretty good recruiting class, given the fact that he got the job late. Got some impressive guys. He's actually going to take a few of these players to Stephen F. Austin with him, and they've turned out to be pretty good Big 12 role players this freshman. Brad Underwood had 1 loss in league play in the Southland Conference in 3 seasons.
53-1 against the teams that supposedly know you best.
Exactly
Obviously,
right.
in the conference, those are the teams that are scouting you the most, coming up with game plans, not surprised by anything you do.
That's
and
exactly
in 3 years, he loses 1 game.
And 2 wins in the NCAA tournament. Knocking off VCU.
Brandon Averette comes on to run the point for Jawan Evans for the time being. Averette back to Forte. Shot clock at 7. Forte way outside. That's off the heel. Offensive rebound, but a foul called on Jeffrey Carroll.
Oklahoma State has not won in the Lloyd Noble Center since 2004. And that was the team that went to the Final Four, led by John Lucas III, Ivan McFarland, coached by the great Eddie Sutton.
Oklahoma has won 7 Bedlam games in a row, and as you said, 12 in a row here in Norman. Money McNeese with the left hand.
That's another one of those young guys that we keep talking about. He's had flashes of brilliance this year. Great game down at West Virginia in the win. Career high that night in Morgantown.
Carroll for 3. That's in and out. Juwan Evans heading to the scorer's table. He'll come on next whistle.
Well, James wanted the mismatch post up against Forte, and he winds up shooting over the top of him. Begging for the ball, Bob. He finally got it.
Well, Christian James was 1 for 12 from 3 over his last 5. So if he gets hot from the outside, that's a whole new weapon for Oklahoma they haven't had in quite a while.
Well, and he got off to such a great start this year, and if he and McGusty can ever play well together, that'll really help Lon Kruger's team.
Great save by Leighton Hammonds, and a foul called. Carroll will go to the free throw line when we come back. Oklahoma with the early 5-point lead. It's Bedlam on Big Monday.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by eBay. Find new, unique, and everything in between on eBay.
Go into Allen Fieldhouse. If you want to be a Big 12 champion, you have to win at Allen.
Does Baylor have it in them to do that?
They have it in this year, but let me tell you, easier said than done. Because 4 losses in the Big 12 in conference play in 14 years for Bill Self.
Yeah, when you have more conference championships than home losses during your career,
yep,
well, that's about as impressive a stat as any program in America has going for them, as Jamoni McNeese has a chance for a 3-point play.
If there's a young man on this roster that's going to be playing basketball for money someday, it is this young man, Jamoni McNeese. You're talking 6'10", long and athletic, really in the infancy of his development as a basketball player, but really good with both hands, Bob, scoring, and of course the athleticism, ability to defend the rim, guard, pick and roll is all there. About 12 NBA scouts here tonight.
Nice jump hook in the lane by Mitchell Solomon, who's averaged 9 points and 5 rebounds over Oklahoma State's last 5.
Yeah, we saw that breakout game in Kansas, didn't we? Where he was absolutely outstanding in Allen Fieldhouse.
Fumbling it and turning it over is Rashard Odoms. And tomorrow night on ESPN, we've got a college hoops doubleheader for you on Super Tuesday, presented by CenturyLink. Tips off at 7, Maryland and Ohio State. And then Brent Musburger's farewell game. Georgia heads to Rupp to take on Kentucky. Both games streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
Hey, Melo Trimble on that Bob Cousy Final 10 list. He's having an outstanding year for Mark Turgeon, on his way to being one of the all-time leading scorers at the University of Maryland. That's assuming he stays 4 seasons. Watch the defense, Bob. You see how they're packed in. They're not out denying. all 5 orange jerseys in the lane. That adjustment has turned around Oklahoma State's season.
And it forces the jumper that's missed by Strong Moore. Evans. That might have been on the way down. Oh boy, McNeese is lucky that the officials say that that is a clean block. It looked like that was going to come up well short to begin with, so 2 shots for Jawun Evans.
Yeah, Jerry Pollard trailing the play, had a good look at it. He was right about where we were, but the thing early in this game, Jawun Evans able to get into the paint. He's a former McDonald's All-American. He was hurt at the end of last year, Bob, so he only played 1 game against Oklahoma, and he was pretty good that night. He had 42.
When you score more points in a Bedlam game than any player for OU or Oklahoma State has ever scored in a Bedlam game, yeah, I would say that is memorable.
As a freshman, also.
8 games into the season, Jawun Evans injured the AC joint in his shoulder in practice. Now, in the 5 games leading up to that injury, he had 2 games with 20, 3 games with 30. Then he misses the Tulsa game, and in the 12 games since, he's only had 3 games with 20 or more. It seems like now he's getting back to where he was before the injury, but...
Well, let me point something else out, too. I think in that absence of him being the prolific scorer, we've seen the emergence of Jeffrey Carroll. And, of course, Phil Forte has started to really play up the form, and I think he has to do less scoring, but no less brilliant a playmaker. This guy can score.
Blocked from behind is McGusty. Well defended by Cameron McGriff.
I'll tell you, when you watch some of these Big 12 teams, it's like watching the NBA freshman-sophomore game. You know, there's those first and second year guys. There's just so many good young players on the floor right now. McGusty, been a good role player as a freshman.
Shot clock at 5 for Jordan Woodard. Off balance. That's tipped by Lattin, kept alive by Woodard.
Doolittle will shoot that.
Instead, it's Lattin. Yes.
Here comes Evans right back at
you. Forte, NBA range. That's off the mark. Knocked out by Jawun Evans. Forte off to a slow start. He's got 1 made 3, but he's missed a couple from well outside as well. He's now 1 for 4 from behind the arc, and on for the first time is the Norman native Lindy Waters. McGriff and Solomon will both sit down. Lucas Gasson back on as well.
Bob, when you watch the half-court defense now, Oklahoma State had played way up and out in the passing lanes until the last 3 games. Watch where all the orange jerseys are now. They're packing the paint with orange jerseys, making you shoot over the top. And a good challenge right there. They were getting beat off of backdoor cuts and dribble drives, so they shrunk the floor.
3rd block for Kadeem Lattin.
You know, this is his 3rd year in the Bedlam series. He understands what's at stake. Young man out of Houston. Mom was a tremendous player, WNBA player. You see the block shot with the left hand, which is on the outside of his body, which keeps the rest of his body from making contact with the driver.
Dillard leans in, no good. Gasson lost it to Doolittle. And McGusty a little stop-start dribble, and he's fouled on the way to the basket by Lindy Waters. Thursday night, 7 Eastern, ESPN will have a Big Ten hoops duel as Michigan State squares off with Nebraska. Who's headed to Lincoln? My partner.
I can't wait.
Fran Fraschilla, he'll be there. Also streaming live on the ESPN app and Watch ESPN.
First trip to the Pinnacle Bank Arena, which I hear is
building.
Unbelievable.
Tremendous building.
Going to see Coach Miles and his Cornhuskers coming off a huge win at home yesterday against Purdue.
McGusty spins and a lot of traffic. Back tapped out to midcourt by Lattin. Taken coast to coast, just off the mark from Dillard. Numbers the other way for OU. And McGusty pulls it back out rather than try to go over the top of Gasson. Woodard left alone. He's got a three.
Big.
Timeout called by Brad Underwood. Seven-point lead for OU here in Bedlam.
If something beset by some medical issues, that set him back. You mentioned he missed 4 games, but on a young team, he has to be the catalyst. He's got Final Four experience, and he understands this rivalry being from Arcadia, Oklahoma, as well as anybody.
He had started 115 consecutive games here at OU until missing those 4 games earlier this year, and boy, did they ever miss him when he was out. They looked like a rudderless ship. Knocking down a 3 is Jawan Evans. So one point guard hits a 3. That forces a timeout. What happens out of the timeout? They give it to the other point guard, and he makes a big shot. Now, Bird Smith's got a whistle away from the ball.
Now, the one thing you don't want to do with Jawan Evans is you don't want to go underneath the screen, as you saw right there. Woodard goes under. This guy makes 40% of his threes. And although he's good at getting into the lane, if you chase him over the top of the screen, you chase him into a lot of white shirts.
That foul put Lucas Gasson back on the bench. Offensive tip-in for Christian Doolittle.
Got a feeling Doolittle and McGusty, Bob, are going to score a lot of points in their career. Can't go under.
Evans thought about it. Drives it at Doolittle. 7 to shoot. Averette, step back, knocks it down.
Good little player. I'll tell you, he was terrific in the game at Tulsa when they played without Evans and essentially Forte, and this team grew up a little bit. Averette was supposed to go to Stephen F. Austin with Brad Underwood, and when Brad switched to Stillwater, easy trip from Dallas.
Kadeem Lattin crashes into Devon Dillard, and it looks like Lattin will be called for a foul. That's the first on Lattin.
I just love the way Dillard plays with great intensity. A sophomore from Gary, Indiana. He played 24 minutes all of last season.
Now he commits the offensive foul.
Nice job by Odoms. He was legal, took the blow. Take a look. He's allowed to move. Once he establishes that he's in front of the ball handler, he can move sideways or backwards, and that time Dillard just ran over Odoms, who's become the dirty work guy for Lon Kruger, the sophomore out of Copperas Cove, Texas. You know, started his high school coaching career in Copperas Grove? Hal Mummy, the architect of the air raid. Don't ask me why I know that.
I don't ask you why you know most of the things that you talk about.
I was watching the Patriots last week, and they were running some of the air raid stuff.
They run a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
Leighton Hammond's called for that foul. And by the way, Phil Forte and Jeffrey Carroll both coming back on as Lindy Waters and Devon Dillard go to the bench. Lattin can't hit the front end. Oklahoma still with a couple of fouls, or at least one more foul to give, as Oklahoma State's now over the limit, 6 minutes to go in the first half.
Well, they switch Doolittle onto Evans. Let's see if he thinks this is a mismatch. But they'll switch right back. Can't go under.
And he makes them pay again. Jawan Evans hits the 3.
You got to chase him over the top of the screen. You make him a driver, and you hope he drives into some white shirts. And Bob, one thing we pointed out in that Kansas game a couple weeks ago, his floater game is not where his mid-range game is and his three-point shooting. So you don't mind if he gets into the high paint and shoots that ball.
McGusty with 5 to shoot. Tries a 3 and connects over the top of Phil Forte. Man. They'll call it a long 2, as that's the second time McGusty has had a toe on the line.
How much fun is it watching these guys grow up, even when they're struggling? Very similar to the days of Cousins and Heald and Spangler.
Foul on McGusty, it looks like, on the reach-in as Carroll got into the lane and posted him up. That's the first on McGusty.
Take a look now. Put on the line, easy call. McGusty, a young man out of Katy, Texas. He finished up his high school career at Sunrise Christian, the same school that produced Buddy Hield. Not a bad role model for this young guy.
Darion Strong-Moore comes back on, replacing Jordan Woodard.
There's that switch.
Evans drives it, blocked again by Latin, lost it on the way up.
That's kind of what I was talking about. He had the big guy on him, force him to drive, don't give him the open 3, and make him shoot over length.
Jordan Shepard finds a cutter in Odoms. That rolls off the rim, but a foul call. So Rashard Odoms will go to the line as Cameron McGriff gets whistled for the personal.
Watch this last possession. They switch onto Evans, and Doolittle's going to take him, and he's not going to give him the 3, so forcing Evans to drive right into those white shirts we talked about. And as good a player as Juwan Evans is, that's not one of his strengths, and that is scoring over a length at the rim. He's only about 6 feet tall. I think where Frank Mason has the edge on Evans, as I watched a lot of tape, is he's got a deft floater game, Bob, that we've seen, that little soft running one-legged floater.
Juwan Evans has 12 of Oklahoma State's 25. Kick out to Carroll. That's off the mark. Offensive rebound, though. Cameron McGriff taken away by Shepard. And now it ends up with Forte. Crowd looking for a travel call, but Evans was able to maintain the dribble somehow. Evans sets up Forte. He's got a 3.
Boy, how good a find was that? He drove right baseline and he found Forte on the left wing. Can't do it any better than that. When you drive baseline, you suck that defense down to your level.
Doolittle, a deep jumper. That's off the mark. A chance for Oklahoma State to take the lead. Blocking foul is called on the drive by Carroll. Doolittle called for the personal with 3.5 minutes to go in the first half of a good one. Bedlam here in Norman.
Fran knows that. Goodness.
Franny, pace of play. What does pace of play mean? Is this hockey? Just kidding, Seth.
Bob Wischusen with Fran Fraschilla. It is Big Monday here in Norman.
Can I tell you something? Nobody watches more basketball than Seth Greenberg and me. Nobody. He is a junkie.
As are you.
Well, we're both undefeated this year. Did you know that?
And for a while
we
now.
We are both undefeated. Seth has not lost a game in 3 or 4 years.
There's a chance Brad Underwood's going to start to win a lot more than he loses with a guy like Jeffrey Carroll, the way he has come on, especially in conference play. Jeffrey Carroll, the last 6 games, has had at least 19 points and at least 7 rebounds. 6 consecutive games. Obviously, that's just about all conference play. You've got one SEC Big 12 Challenge game in there against Arkansas, and the rest of it's against the league.
He's an all-conference player. There's no question.
McGusty spins and draws a foul. He will go back to the free throw line. Cameron McGriff becomes the first player for either team to pick up his 2nd personal foul.
I think most of the NBA scouts are here, Bob, taking a look at Juwan Evans. the sophomore, but they're also getting a peek at some very good young players.
And speaking of scouting, Wednesday is National Signing Day, and we'll have you covered from coast to coast. The 12th consecutive year where high school football players make their official commitments. Coverage will start at 8 a.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Take you up until noon, where it goes over to ESPN2. And then at 5, back over on the U to wrap up the day. So all day long, you'll be able to track where the best high school football players are making their college commitments. Of course, streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN as well.
We talked to Mike Houck today, the communications guy for Oklahoma football. And got a feeling the Sooner Nation will be very pleased with that class. Right now, comfortably inside the top 10. Going to have to replace Baker Mayfield at some point.
11 to shoot for Oklahoma State.
Of course, the Cowboys expected to be really good next year in football. Most of that offense is back. Mike Gundy does a great job. Let's see if they can keep Evans out of the lane. Ball screen coming both ways.
Clock at 5. Evans for 3. Comes up short. Tipped around. Hook, who's got it? Offensive rebound, Solomon. But he couldn't hit point-blank range. And then Jeffrey Carroll not only bumped into Christian James, but hurt him as well. Or check that Doolittle. So Doolittle gets up favoring, it looks like that left ankle. Let's see if he tries to walk it off. It looks as if he will. And that's the second foul on Jeffrey Carroll.
Yeah, good effort both ways on the glass. I thought Solomon had a chance to score point blank right there. And then both teams getting after it, and Doolittle comes down with it. Looks like he may have rolled that angle a little bit. But since he's going to the foul line, he said to Coach Kruger, "No, I'm good. I'll shoot these free throws. You don't need a sub." By the way, if he were to sub for injury, Brad Underwood would be able to pick which Oklahoma starter would shoot the free throws.
And you've got a 79% free throw shooter at the line, who, by the way, has Bedlam in his own household.
Absolutely.
Because his older brother Cameron was a wide receiver at Oklahoma State.
Special teams guy, I believe.
And now Christian Doolittle comes to Oklahoma to play basketball, hits a pair at the line.
Yep.
And he's a guy that's been better in league play than he was in non-conference play. He's averaging 7.5 rebounds and 11 points a game in Big 12 play.
Well, growing up in Edmond, Oklahoma, he understands this rivalry as well as anybody on the floor tonight.
Clock down to 7 once again. Crossover by Evans. Floats one up, and he will go back to the free throw line again.
He's a handful.
McNeese's call.
Yep, he's a handful, Bob. He's gotten into the paint tonight. That's where McNeese has got to play straight up and make Evans make those shots. Don't bail him out by putting him on the line. You know, when I mentioned earlier that the Achilles heel of his offensive game was the floater game, it's not to take away from any of the other great things he does. It's just an area that I think he can continue to improve on because he does so many things well.
That's already 8 points at the line here in the first half for Oklahoma State. They average almost 21 made free throws a game. They're in the top 6 in the country in not just getting to the line, but knocking them down once they get there. As a team, they're the best free throw shooting team in the Big 12.
And their offensive efficiency is through the roof, number 2 in the country. And a lot of it is because what you talked about. They run offense, they get to the line.
Shepard sets up McGusty. Knocks down at 3.
Tell you what, they did a great job, Oklahoma State, of keeping Shepard from getting to the paint. But then Cortez got to close a little quicker on the scorer.
Evans floats one to Solomon. Tried to allow the flyby. Knocked out of bounds, and it's off Solomon.
If you're going to pack your defense in, it's going to keep the ball from getting out of the lane, but watch the slow closeout right now. A little too late by Lindy Waters. He was going to bluff and get back. So the idea of keeping the ball from getting deep in the lane is a good one, but you also got to get back and challenge those shooters.
Woodard from the corner. Short.
Oh, man.
Phil Forte comes together with Devon Dillard.
Yep.
And it ends up out of bounds off Oklahoma State.
Dillard was in position at 6'4", and Forte went after it as well, and they just kind of got tangled up, and Dillard says, my bad. See how packed in that those orange shirts are.
McGusty finds a lane but traveled on the way there. Yeah, that adjustment, Brad Underwood said he just needed to give his team something that they could believe in at the defensive end. They are 311th in Division I in opponents' points per game. They're number 5 in America scoring the ball themselves all year long. They've had no problem putting the ball in the basket. They just couldn't stop anyone.
Yeah, and scoring margin is really the better indicator of your defense. There's a hometown guy coming home and knocking down a three.
And it's a one-point game off the Lindy Waters triple.
Yep. But you know what, Bob? The amount of points you give up isn't as important as the scoring margin. Because if you're going to score 90 a game and you give up 80, that's still plus 10, and you're in good shape there.
Evans crosses over, floats one up, doesn't get the roll. Dillard foul. So Devon Dillard will go to the free throw line. And again, the time that we have seen in these last 3 games at the defensive end for Oklahoma State, things turn around. And Brad Underwood attributed it to giving them a philosophy the players could believe in.
And at Stephen F. Austin, with the better athletes by and large than most of the teams in his league, he could extend his defense and overplay passing lanes. And he felt like at this level, relative to the athletes they're playing in the Big 12, that was giving up too many scoring opportunities, so they backed off the pressure inside the three-point line. It's worked out really well.
Lindy Waters crept inside, got an offensive rebound. Here's Phil Forte, way outside. And that will end the half with Oklahoma on top by a point over Oklahoma State. We're going to spend some time showing you in the second half the difference for Oklahoma State, how they started the season defensively and what they've done of late to change things around. Down by a point, Oklahoma State to Oklahoma. Bedlam, it's halftime. Carl Ravitch, Jay Williams, and Seth Greenberg back in the studio, the halftime report. Ravi?
Hi, Bobby. Thank you. Alfa Romeo driving us here. Jay and Seth, let's go to Duke. They're taking up.
Set for the start of the second half. We expected a terrific point guard matchup. We only have one half of that point guard matchup to this point. Juwan Evans, he's held up his end. Jordan Woodard needs to be better.
Yeah, Evans has accounted for 70% of Oklahoma State's points via points or assists, so he certainly has played well in front of a lot of NBA scouts.
The difference, though, for Brad Underwood's team the last 3 games has been a change in defensive philosophy.
Yeah, you mind if I bring the third member of our broadcast crew in here?
I would appreciate it. Actually, probably improve the broadcast if you just hold it right there.
I want you to watch the whiteboard. Early in the year, the defense was extending out in the lanes. That allowed the ball to be dribbled into the lane way too easily. So what Brad Underwood has done is he's packed the paint with defense, making you shoot over the top. And we'll show you this, Bob, on film and why it's been really effective for the Cowboys in the last 3 games. I want you just to watch the orange jerseys and notice they're all inside the arc. Now you must get out and challenge the shooters, chase them off the line, and then contest the jump shot. And also, when you don't extend your defense, you have better rebounding coverage because the orange jerseys are in the painted areas.
That is planning for success, brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. And make no mistake, that is the plan for Brad Underwood's team. The leading scorer for Oklahoma in the first half was Cameron McGusty. He had 14, but the majority of his points came on the perimeter jumpers that Brad Underwood is willing to live with as long as he cuts down the paint points, which they had been giving up in bunches, giving up drives, giving up second chance points. That's not what they're doing now. And he believes over the course of a 40-minute game that if you just force those perimeter jumpers often enough, the opposition will miss enough of them.
That's right. And remember, it's an adjustment that he's had to make because he spent his career playing pressure defense. Of course, that's smart coaching.
There's Kadeem Lattin, though, as the defense forced a McGusty jumper and a miss, but Lattin kept it alive on the offensive glass.
And every time there's a drive, there's usually a second defender ready to help. And what you got to do if you're Oklahoma is more movement and cutting to move the help defense, and then you can drive it. Right there is a good example.
McGusty into traffic. 2 free throws coming for Cam McGusty. Foul called on Leighton Hammonds. That's his second.
I talked to the Oklahoma State staff at halftime, and they felt pretty good. They didn't really feel they played very well in the first half. Outside of Evans, you know, it was a struggle. Jeffrey Carroll did not have a Jeffrey Carroll type of first half.
Carroll 4 points, and all 4 of his points at the free throw line. Doesn't have a basket yet. 0 for 5 from the field. This is a player that's averaged better than 19 points every game of the last 6, and now a turnover. Woodard into Latin.
If I were Oklahoma now, I'd like to see a little more player movement so that you can move that packed-in defense.
Doolittle scoops and misses everything. Evans will drive it and draws the foul on Jordan Woodard. So Evans back to the free throw line. That's the 3rd on Jordan Woodard. And again, 0 for 5 from the field so far for Jeffrey Carroll.
Yep, started off taking some tough shots, I thought, Bob. And good challenges by the Oklahoma defense. They've been locked in on Jeffrey Carroll in that first half and done a good job of slowing him down. The Rowlett native has been red hot lately. And kudos to the Sooners for blanketing him.
Jawan Evans, an 81% free throw shooter.
I'll tell you, he was brilliant on Saturday in the blowout win over Arkansas. He dominated that first half.
He's now 6 for 9 at the line tonight. Jordan Shepherd back in. So Woodard goes to the bench with 3 fouls and only 1 field goal.
And we're not seeing, Bob, we're not seeing any of Darian Strong-Moore, who, remember, hurt that shoulder in the Texas game. So the freshman Shepherd, who committed to James Madison University before they made a coaching change, is going to get some of Woodard's minutes at the point. He had a terrific game against Memphis in December where he had a career-high 17. Very static right now by Oklahoma. A lot of standing around.
10 on the shot clock. Shepherd lost it. Found it again. Tied up. Possession arrow will give it to the Cowboys.
And again, if you don't move the bodies offensively, you're going to allow the defense to be standing right in that paint and build that wall that we've talked about. Watch this ball come back to Solomon. Little handoff.
Carroll leans in. There's his first bucket. Maybe that gets him started. And it gives Oklahoma State the lead.
They do a really good job of utilizing that weak side elbow as kind of a launch point for their offense. They hit Solomon, cut off him. Very creative.
McGusty one-on-one. Fouled before the pass to the corner.
I want you to watch this, Bob. We call this the spread offense. And they spread the court. They deploy Solomon at the elbow area. You hit him, you cut off of him. The defense has got to recover quickly. And didn't do a good job that time.
That foul on Jeffrey Carroll, though. That's his 3rd. Another foul called against the Cowboys. That's the 2nd on Mitchell Solomon.
I tell you, I know both teams have struggled this year, but this is as sedate an atmosphere for a Bedlam game as I can remember in my 12 or so years covering the Big 12. I don't think Sooner fans realize how good this young talent is. Just going by the win-loss record. Watch this in transition. Good defense.
Good hands by Jordan Shepherd.
Absolutely.
Christian James back in, and Rashard Odoms will go to the bench.
If you look at the body language right now in Oklahoma, this is just me, okay, as a coach, I see consternation. I see lack of confidence. You know, I see like, woe is me, what's going to go wrong next?
Evans looking for Carroll, backdoor, blocked by Doolittle. And out of bounds off of Carroll.
Yeah, terrific play by Christian Doolittle. Carroll brought the ball to him. Take a look right here. Here comes Doolittle. He just plays vertically. And a nice job. Block shot by the freshman from Memorial High School right up the road in Edmond.
Oklahoma has lost 3 games in overtime this season and 4 other games by 4 or less. McGusty with a chance for a 3-point play. Maybe that improves the body language of the Sooners because they have been in this position time and time again.
Well, watch this pass, Bob. It's kind of fortunate. Goes right through Forte's hands, and McGusty's just in the right place. It wasn't really good execution as much as a guy with the nose for the ball coming up with it.
And the third foul on Mitchell Solomon. So now Solomon and Carroll both have 3. Here comes Cam McGriff to the scorer's table. He's set to check in next time out for Solomon. Forte sets up Carroll, extra pass to the corner, and the 3 goes down for Leighton Hammonds.
We haven't called Hammond's name much tonight, but he's a stretch 4 man. Career 30% from 3, but with his size, capable of making it. Good ball movement right there by the Cowboys.
That was his first basket. Doolittle. Short.
Got to get back and get 5 in the lane so this guy doesn't get all the way.
Evans, old school floater goes down. This is the largest lead for the Cowboys. It's up to 4.
You know, I thought watching the game on Saturday that Jawan Evans was so good in the first half, and coaching staff felt he could have kept it going in the second half, and I think he's going to take that to heart, Bob.
James off the mark from 3. The packed-in defense forces another perimeter jumper.
Here he goes.
Evans steps back. That one may have been deflected. That came off a weird rotation and well short from Jawan Evans. McGusty palmed the basketball, though. An Oklahoma turnover. It's Oklahoma State led by their star point guard, Jawan Evans. They've opened up a 4-point lead.
Take a look, little teardrop. It's bringing some rain.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of Big 12 basketball.
Has now slowly answered. 4 minutes into the second half, they've got a 4-point lead. This is their largest. It's Big Monday, and it's Bedlam here in Norman. Bob Wischusen alongside Fran Fraschilla. Oklahoma State trying to not only win their 4th consecutive game this year, but win for the first time in 8 tries against Oklahoma. Shot clock under 10 as Lindy Waters dribbles it down to 5. He'll float one up. Doesn't get the roll, and McGusty has the rebound.
Sort of an empty possession right there. Not a lot of ball movement. Waters stuck with the ball, had to make something out of nothing, and didn't come up with much.
Buford off the mark.
1 for 6 now for Oklahoma, Bob. 0 for 3 from behind the arc, so that packed-in defense getting more effective. I think it's given Oklahoma State a lot of confidence as well.
Waters strokes a triple.
That young man who grew up here, spent a lot of his time at Norman North High School. By the way, they have a great player who's going to make a commitment later this week. Trey Young, outstanding point guard, All-American, McDonald's All-American. Nice
soft touch off the window for McGusty.
I sense that choice is going to come down to Kansas and OU, and had a little visit with him before the game. Said, hey, you got 2 great choices, my man. Good luck to you.
McGriff. That's off the mark. Buford taps it, and it's run down by Woodard. Jordan Woodard gives it up. McNeese has it stripped away.
Well, good hustle that time by Leighton Hammonds. McNeese was ready to punch it. I thought Woodard gave it to him a second late. And a good recovery by Leighton Hammonds.
That'll bring Lucas Gasson back in, as Leighton Hammonds will go to the bench. And here comes Juwan Evans checking back in for Phil Forte. So both of the primary point guards on the floor simultaneously for the Pokes, as Evans and Averett are both in the game.
Little zone now, 3-2. They'll play this off the inbounds, change up at times. Waters at the point. Should be able to shoot over those small guards. They do.
Although James comes up short.
Yep. Also in keeping with the ball being kept out of the lane. Just like the patience of Oklahoma State tonight. Taking their time. There's that weak side elbow. This offense was the offense that Johnny Orr brought to the Big 8. Brad Underwood, former Big 8 point guard, has really developed it to a nice offense for himself.
Gasson, wild shot, tipped up and in.
Waters.
Give it to Lindy Waters.
8 points for the hometown guy.
Oklahoma State continues to add to their largest lead, but that's cut into by Dante Buford. Evans going under the ball screen, and Evans makes the pay again with a 3.
Now, Lon Kruger thought that Christian James got popped in the Adams apple, but you still can't go under that ball screen.
McGusty can't connect. Gasson's got the rebound. Gives a shove to Jamani McNeese.
I don't think those guys could knock each other over if they tried.
Averett pulls up. He's got a baby jumper in the lane.
We talked about 2 young teams. We've highlighted some of those young Sooners, but how about the bench play for the Cowboys? Averett. And at 6 feet, you make him shoot shots in the lane, but when you go under a ball screen on a guy that shoots 40% from 3 or better, you're really asking for trouble, Bob. All good guards, most of the time, you want to force them over a screen into help. And you just got to know the defensive game plan. Once is okay, but 3 times, you're asking for trouble.
Juwan Evans enjoys Bedlam. 42 last year in Stillwater, the most ever scored by a player in this rivalry, as the shot clock is down to 5. Rashard Odoms has to force one up.
That's just tough offense right now.
Offensive rebound, though. Dante Buford keeps it alive, leans in, and he will work his way to the free throw line, drawing the foul on Lucas Gasson. Under 12 minutes to go in the latest edition of Bedlam. 10-point lead for Oklahoma State, trying to break a 7-game Bedlam losing streak.
I'm all that techie stuff you got crammed into your brand new car.
We lose Brent Musburger in the same season, and I was 5 years old when Brent Musburger began on the NFL Today on CBS. Obviously, we do the same job, so I never worked with Brent Musburger. The same can't be said for my partner here, though, Fran Fraschilla, who spent a lot of time calling Big Monday games in the Big 12 with Brent. How about some of your memories of working side by side with a real legend?
3 great seasons. Learned so much from Brent. Such a great love of sports. I'm going to miss all the lunches and dinners that we had with Holly Rowe and our crews and all the fun stories Brent told us. If I had an on-court memory, it'd probably be last year's Big 12 semifinal when Buddy Hield hit the half-court shot, and I was yelling, "Hield, Hield!" And Brent was like, calm down. And then, of course, the basket was waved off. And the next day, Brent and I went to the West Virginia practice, and none of the players and coaches would talk to me because they thought I was rooting for Oklahoma. But Brent is a legend. I just wish him all the best. I know he's heading out west. Got a lot of friends out west. And wish him the best.
Line drive 3 goes down for Dante Buford. And Oklahoma trying to work their way back in the game, down by 6 now. Off Gasson, but it apparently was deflected out by OU, and now we've got a line change for Brad Underwood. He brings Forte, Carroll, and Hammonds all back in the game. As Averett and Waters and Cameron McGriff all go to the bench.
Good coaching move. 3 starters were resting, and they rested through the TV timeout. So they got a little extra without missing game time.
Evans to the corner. That three's way short from Leighton Hamilton.
Oklahoma, in 2+ games, has 12 assists. So the ball's got to move a little bit better like that.
Yep. 2 in a row for Dante Buford.
Well, we talked about it. If you can drive into that defense and draw those defenders in, you're going to get the open look, and then you got to bury it.
Foul away from the ball.
Let's go back, Bob. Watch the penetration. I think it's Woodard, excuse me. He's going to get deep. Here he comes, draws 2, 3, opens it up for Buford. Buford's got to knock that down, and he does. Drive and kick right there. Draw the defense, kick it out.
That foul for Oklahoma State on Lucas Gasson, so he goes to the bench with 4. That brings Mitchell Solomon back in. Midway through the second half of a Bedlam matchup that looks like it's going to go right down to the wire. Oklahoma State with a 3-point lead. Make it 1. Fade away, knocked down by Jordan Woodard.
Really good footwork, too. Step back away from the defense, created a little separation. Not an easy move. Really well executed.
Forte got it. The senior steps up and ends a 9-0 Oklahoma run to stabilize the game just a bit for Oklahoma State. Woodard attacks the goal, shut down by Mitchell Solomon.
Yeah, really good defense by Solomon. Watch out.
Forte couldn't gather in the corner.
He wanted to, didn't he? Let's see if Oklahoma State can stay composed, run the offense. Nice.
Pick and roll, but Solomon can't connect. Forte tries to save it. And does. Forte able to bank it out of bounds and keep it with Oklahoma State.
Really good hustle that time. Solomon on the roll, came up empty, and Forte with good hustle to knock that ball off of the Sooners right there. Or did he? Okay, too late.
Poked out by Christian James, according to the officials.
Can't review that. Watch Solomon and Evans. Going under again.
And Evans
can't do that.
Can't make a pay that time. Hammonds runs it down, saves it, but right to Buford.
Let's see if Woodard can get into paint again.
Woodard for the tie. Off the mark. And Mitchell Solomon outlets to Juwan Evans. Carroll swoops in. Hits the underside of the rim. Evans throws it back out and gets fouled as he fought for the loose ball and won the battle. And Christian James is called for the personal. That's only the 2nd foul here in the second half on Oklahoma. You can see Oklahoma State is already over the limit with 8:41 to go.
Both coaches now substituting liberally. A lot of high energy. It's the time of the game where you want to keep your best players fresh. I thought Woodard on that last possession could have driven Solomon, especially because Solomon is saddled with some foul trouble. Well, I think Oklahoma State, they'll run clock here. Watch the elbow again. Carroll will shoot that because he's got the size advantage.
Forte gets the screen, finds Solomon in the lane, who gives it up, and Dillard draws the foul. Good ball movement that time by Oklahoma State. Will put Devon Dillard at the line.
You know, Solomon hasn't had as big of an effect on this game as some of the earlier games, Bob, but I just love his activity. You know, he's not Ryan Spangler, who had a terrific career here, but I love his toughness, and he's made a huge jump from last year to this year as a junior.
So now Solomon will head to the bench. You know, talking to Brad Underwood earlier today about Mitchell Solomon, he said he's our best defender. And you wouldn't think that, but he's never, ever out of position. Said we charted it.
Yep.
The opponent shoots 36% when Mitchell Solomon's on the floor. and about 43% when he's not.
That's what we call a no-mistake guy. You know he's going to be in the right place at the right time. And that's important because a lot of times defenses break down when players are in the wrong place.
Jawun Evans had the extra possession, but a scramble for it now, and it is a turnover, and it'll be a foul called on Cameron McGriff. Under 8 minutes to go in a game that feels a little more like bedlam now between Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. It's a 4-point lead for the Cowboys as we come down the stretch here in Norman. 7 Eastern when Maryland takes on Ohio State, and then we'll head to Rupp for Georgia and Kentucky, and the farewell game for Brent Musburger. Those games both streaming live tomorrow night on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Dante Buford at the line to try and make it a 2-point game. 18 fouls on Oklahoma State, only 3 on the Sooners, and he's able to connect on the front end of the 1-and-1.
Buford's had a good performance tonight. He's in double figures now for the Sooners. Only a sophomore.
And only the 3rd time this year he's been in double figures. Picked up a groin injury back in the preseason that bothered him through the early part of the year. He's still trying to fight through that pain as now Odoms with a silly foul, blitzing Lindy Waters a long way from the basket.
Now, Odoms was close to running through that lane and stealing it, Bob, and then when he didn't get it, he just kept his hand in there and just took Waters' arm off a little bit. Easy call to make.
See how long Jawun Evans sits. As now Brandon Averett runs things for the Pokes. Forte, little too strong. It goes to Oklahoma.
Now, if you're Oklahoma right now, I'd love to see a little bit more movement and cutting. Maybe a ball screen for Woodard to let him get into the paint. And that's what we call right here false motion, which is good. It moves the defense and it allows you to get to the paint.
McGusty makes it count.
It's the best possession of the second half for Oklahoma. They cut 2 or 3 guys. That's what we call false motion. Just move the defense, and McGusty used the ball screen. Much harder to guard than a static defense. Now with this lineup, you can't give Forte any open looks.
Forte gives it up. 5 to shoot. Averett will drive it. Slips one. Too hot to handle for Cameron McGriff. A chance now for OU to retake the lead.
And we go back to that last possession. Watch the white shirts. Cut, move. Now you set the ball screen, and the defense isn't as packed in as we've seen tonight. A really good job of executing. I think Oklahoma needs more of that, what we call false motion. Move those orange shirts before you get into your ball screen play.
And by the way, as soon as Averett threw that pass out, as Buford throws up an air ball from the corner, Brad Underwood turned around, grabbed the jersey of Jawun Evans, and said, get right back in the game.
Smart coaching.
And now Evans immediately impacts the game on the drive, and he'll go back to the free throw line.
You know, when your point guard can get you 12 free throws like he's going to do, that really, really impacts your offense.
McGusty picks up his 2nd foul.
Yeah, and he struggled tonight, Bob, from the field, only 5 of 14, but getting it done on the foul line. He's going to have a tough decision to make. I know there's some talk about him declaring for the draft after his sophomore year. It's a very deep point guard class. It starts with Fultz and Ball and Dennis Smith and De'Aaron Fox. And then you start to talk about the other players, the Monte Morrises, the other quality point guards around the country. This young man is on the cusp of being a 1st-round pick. I'm not going to tell him what to do, but
if you were to tell him what to do, if you were on the cusp of the 1st round?
I think next year he could be one of the dominant guards in college basketball. You know, if a team is going to guarantee you they're going to take you with the 25th pick, and it's a playoff team, and it's guaranteed money, you got to look at that. but I think he could really improve his stock by being one of the best guards in the country next year. As a college guard, he is. As a pro prospect, there's 4 or 5 or 6 guys in front of him at the moment.
Could he do for himself in the eyes of the next level what Frank Mason has done for himself coming back and continuing and playing at that level for Kansas? Because Juwan Evans could be that good.
He'll go higher. I mean, he's gonna go higher. You know, he's 2 years younger than Frank in terms of draft class. So I think this kid's draftable in the first round. I don't know if it's going to be right now.
Nice head fake by McGusty, but lost it. Taken away by Carroll. Here comes Evans. Misses with the left hand. Loose ball, run down by Doolittle.
Yeah, but that's the big thing. I talked to a couple of scouts at halftime. His ability to finish at the rim because of his size.
McGusty bounces one to Kadeem Latin.
Oh, nice job by McGusty. Put it on a platter.
Forte wastes no time. Comes up short. Offensive rebound, Solomon. And a fresh 30 for the Cowboys.
Mitchell Solomon, he'll get credit for the rebound. But more importantly, he keeps the possession alive and they get to run a little clock.
Evans turns the corner. Christian James the rebound.
That's kind of what we talked about, that floater game. He can improve it.
How about the body language now for Oklahoma that they've taken a 10-point lead and gotten the game even?
Better, Bobby. Came out of a timeout a couple minutes ago. That's a foul. Yep, no, better body language than when they were trailing by 6. Watch the dime right here. McGusty, who gets into the lane all night long, and a little bounce pass, and then Kadeem Latin, the recipient, at the finishing end. Did you get that sense to start the second half? I was looking at a woe is me, how are we going to lose this game type of attitude, and I'd say the last 5 minutes the Sooners have come alive a little bit.
And they just forced Jeffrey Carroll to the bench with his 4th foul. Well, that has to happen naturally to a young team that loses a lot of close games.
Yes.
You know, losing, all coaches talk about it. It's a disease, and it can infect a team.
And let's be honest, okay? This is a football, you know, listen, they've had great basketball here. But unlike Iowa State or a Kansas, where they will your team back in, you have to get the fans off their seats here by playing well. And, you know, oftentimes when things aren't going well, you'd like the crowd to just stand up in unison and will you back into a game. And that doesn't happen as much here. Happened a lot when Buddy was here, you know, but not now. And it will in the future because this team is good.
Evans scoops. Latin got a piece. Solomon can't follow. A chance for Oklahoma to build on the lead.
Where are you going?
Christian James rolls it off the rim. That ends up with Forte.
Little too much traffic, I thought, right there. He'll shoot it.
Oklahoma State doesn't have a field goal in over 5 minutes. And yet they only trail by 2. Waters for 3.
Oh, boy.
Knocks it down.
Boy. You cannot go under a ball screen on a shooter. How about a night for Waters?
Latin fouled on a reach-in by Devon Dillard. Well, Lindy Waters grew up right here in Norman. Not only a native of Norman, but part of his family of Native American descent, member of the Kiowa and Cherokee nations, and very prideful of the fact that that is in his DNA. And boy, it has to be special to come home where you go to school right down the road. And he had played here, obviously, in high school, but this is his first chance to play in a Bedlam game here at the Lloyd Noble Center. He's made it count, 3 threes.
And tying a career high, which is not a bad way to come home. I'll tell you, when you're at the bottom of the league, in a league like this, wins are so hard to come by. And the team that loses this game is going to be deflating.
Evans turns it over. Threw it right to Dante Buford.
The wins are like gold, aren't they?
For these 2 teams.
Yeah.
Especially.
Augusti's got the advantage to shoot right over Forte when he wants.
Off balance, finds Latin. Traveling call on Kadeem Latin. A chance for Oklahoma State to take the lead when we come back. 3:47 to go, or maybe even more. Bedlam here in Norman.
Hi guys, I want to get your opinions on the first ever
3 games in a row. They're right on the bubble according to our lone Joe Lunardi, but if they want to win 4 in a row, they have to break a heck of a home game win streak for OU in this series. And Dante Buford has done work, knocking down threes, Fran, as Oklahoma has won the last 12 in this series here at the Lloyd Noble Center.
That's right, going back to 2004. I thought the ball movement down the stretch for Oklahoma a little bit better than it has been. They've got 7 assists. Doesn't sound like a lot, but they had 7 in the previous 2 games.
Oklahoma State hasn't won since 2004 here in Norman.
Watch Evans coming off these screens. If he doesn't get it, there's that ball screen.
Stripped away by Woodard. He saved it as well. Lattin tracks it down.
Smart move by Lattin. Big guy, pick it up, get possession, and then play from there. Hate to see the big guy try to dribble it and lose it. Smart play by the junior.
Great hands by Woodard on the steal and the save. Woodard.
Nope.
Way off the mark.
Now, Jordan Woodard, who was brilliant against West Virginia, Bob, certainly struggled Saturday against Florida, didn't score. Tough night tonight. Keep your eye on Solomon now at the weak side elbow. This ball will come back to him. There's the screen. Watch Solomon and Evans right here.
Forte with 7 to shoot. Forte will drive it, pulls up, rainbow jumper off the mark. Christian James corrals the rebound.
And I think Forte wanted Evans to get the ball back because he's the better creator. Forte had to take a tough shot. Juwan Evans has got to take over the offense for Oklahoma State down the stretch.
Auguste.
Got it. What have we said all night, Bob? He's got the size advantage over Evans and Forte to raise up anytime he wants.
Cowboys are 1 for their last 11 from the field. Waters wants a timeout. Under 2 minutes to go in Bedlam. We'll be back in 30 seconds to Norman. All the highlights and breakdowns from a college basketball night, the NBA as well. They'll look ahead to Super Bowl 51 as both teams are in town now. Everything else in the world of sports, it is SportsCenter at night after the game. Streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN as well.
Evans going to go high pick and roll, and he's got to create.
Down the lane, Juwan Evans comes up short. Mitchell Solomon kept it alive on the offensive glass, but it looks as if a foul was called on the drive by Juwan Evans that will put him at the line.
One of the interesting things that Brad Underwood has done. Well, look, did you see where Evans caught the ball? By catching it in the backcourt, it gives him a running start to the basket. Really smart play by Brad Underwood coming out of that timeout.
That foul was on Kadeem Lattin, and another miss at the line for Evans, as he is now 9 for 13, an 81% free throw shooter. So he's leaving a few points at the line tonight with his team down by 3. Still a 23-point night so far for Evans, as Waters is out and Cameron McGriff is back in.
Good defensive lineup now for Oklahoma. Looks like we're going to see a little three-quarter court press. Token. See if they can cause Oklahoma in a sloppy turnover. If anything, they make them use a little clock. Back to a zone, which is interesting here. So on the floor, you got to know where McGusty is. And we know James is capable of knocking him down.
Shot clock all the way under 10. Woodard with the shot clock at 5. Pulls up. Knocks it down.
Perfect possession. Used a lot of clock and scored.
Evans fouls. And McGusty called for his third.
And I think where Oklahoma is fortunate, well, we'll watch Woodard now. End of the clock. Has to make something out of nothing. Gets it up. Tough shot. Knocks it down. Now, fortunately for Oklahoma, I think Joe DeRosa called this foul on the pass, so it's a 1-and-1, right?
That's Oklahoma now obviously out of fouls to give, as that was their 7th. So they're already shooting the double bonus, but now Oklahoma State will shoot a 1-and-1. And right back to the line. If there's any place tonight that Evans has struggled, it's right here at the free throw line.
I take my chances.
11 for 15 for most players in college basketball is a terrific night, but for Juwan Evans, when you're in the top 6 in the league shooting free throws, especially in a close game, he wants every point he can get at the stripe.
Ooh.
Only 1 of 2, and then a foul call. Leighton Hammonds on the reach in. That'll be an automatic 2 at the other end for Oklahoma. That's the 4th on Hammonds.
And if James goes to the line, or is it James? No, Buford will shoot it.
Dante Buford came into tonight 6 of 9 at the free throw line this season. So he has not been here often. Pressure free throws for a guy that doesn't get to the line often in a Bedlam game.
We've seen this happen a number of times. You have to block out. You got 4 versus 3 on that foul line.
This is a pair.
Yep.
Still a 1-possession game.
Don't need a 3, obviously. You just need a great shot. I get it back to Evans. Let him create.
Evans comes up short. Del Forte sails in for the rebound.
He got shot out of a cannon. He looked like Superman in the air right there.
Timeout called by Jeffrey Carroll.
He had everything but the cape. The shot went up. Forte came running in. Watch Forte. There's the shot. Good look. Defender went under again. Here comes Forte. Yep. Extra possession. Now even here, Bob, you can manufacture a quick 2. Take it, build your defense. But there's nothing wrong with running a play for a guy like Forte if you get him a wide open 3.
Well, that was going to be my question. Forte is 3 of 10 from the field. He's got 8 points, normally averages 14. Jeffrey Carroll, 3rd leading scorer in the league, averages just a shade under 18 a game. He's got 6 on 1 of 8 shooting. The only player that's put up the requisite number of points tonight is Evans, and he's 5 of 18. So you have no one on the floor that right now you kind of quote-unquote consider a hot shooter. So where do you go?
Well, and here's the point on Forte I was going to make. They've put length on him all night long. So right now, Christian James at 6'4" is going to guard Forte. Again, don't need the 3 if you get the short 2.
Lindy Waters has made his 3 attempts from behind the arc, and he's out there as Evans will drive it. High off the glass, no good. McGusty's got the rebound.
Oh, no!
Taken away by Solomon. And draws the foul.
That is a rookie mistake. McGusty would have been better off holding on to the ball and turning it over so it's not a live ball.
Or calling timeout.
Or calling timeout. Or he couldn't do this because of the backboard, just throwing it into the backcourt. Take a look, but he's stuck underneath his own basket, so he can't throw it long, and he thinks he finds Buford, and he doesn't.
Solomon makes it a 2-point game with 24 seconds to go.
Now Oklahoma is going to press. They have time to set up a good pressure, and then they'll foul.
2 at the line for Mitchell Solomon. 1-point game.
Man pressure. Let's see if they double.
Do they need to? Woodard lost it to Evans. Waters has it. Evans on the drive. No good. Carroll. He couldn't control it. Forte
he made it.
Gives Oklahoma State the lead.
Do they take a timeout?
To go. Woodard calls timeout with 4 seconds remaining.
Lon Kruger was telling Woodard to take the timeout, but Woodard dribbled past him and he didn't hear him. Woodard then reacted, went back to the official. Lon Kruger was asking for the timeout, but he's not allowed to be given it by rule, and they wasted some time. Woodard dribbled by Kruger, and I don't think he heard him. Watch the steal now. And again, scramble situation. Nobody's worried about Forte right now. They're just worried about the basketball. And watch Evans. Drive, misses, loose ball. How about that? Easiest shot tonight for Phil Forte.
Oklahoma State was 1 for their last 14 from the field before Phil Forte hit that shot. You know, it's funny. In my head as I was calling the play, my thought in that nanosecond before Forte knocked down that shot was that Oklahoma had gotten away with one, because it looked like Christian James had fouled Jeffrey Carroll. I mean, under the basket, it looked like he got him along across the wrists in that scramble and threw him out of bounds. The officials didn't call the foul on Christian James. For just a moment, I thought that's a bad break for Oklahoma State. And then a nanosecond later, what happens? The ball ends up in Phil Forte's hands. Now watch Carroll. Maybe not. That's probably a good non-call. Looked like Christian James had his hand on the basketball and not the wrists of Jeffrey Carroll. And either way, it was a good break for Oklahoma State, because they end up with the look by Forte. So now with 4 seconds to go, what do you draw up if you're Lon Kruger?
Well, you've got plenty of time. What you want to do is get the ball into your best driver. 4 seconds is an eternity. So to me, I think it's going to be McGusty. McGusty's been a guy that's been able to create his own shot tonight. Brad Underwood has a timeout. He sees the alignment, and he allows himself now to look at it and make adjustments. Bob, in a number of situations in the last part of the season, they have isolated Odoms and McGusty and let him play one-on-one.
Now, part of this, if you're Lon Kruger, obviously, is drawing up this play and making sure that the right guy gets the ball in the right spot. Is there another part of it in the huddle where, in a moment like this to a young team, you have to just talk to them about keeping their heads?
Yes.
Because, I mean, this is a team, as we've said all night, Oklahoma has lost 3 games this year in overtime and 4 other games by 4 or less. So after Forte hits that shot, there's got to be some element for a young team walking back to that huddle with their shoulders slumped, as if, hey, we can't believe this is happening to us again. How much of this huddle for Lon Kruger is drawing up a play? How much of it is just kind of mentally rehabbing his team to go out there and attack the last 4 seconds?
If I were coaching this team, here's what I would say. We're going to win this game, okay? We're going to win this game, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to tie it first. We're going to run this play and get it to, let's say, McGusty. I want everybody to spread the floor when he catches it. Cam, you have plenty of time to get to the basket or drive it and pass it. But we're going to tie this game. And you've got to stay positive. You've got to draw up the right play. And you have to put the onus on the defense to guard dribble penetration to the rim. That's how I would look at this. When you see this alignment coming out, there's no Odoms, who is a great driver. It's either going to be McGusty or Woodard going to the basket.
Buford will throw it in. No one on the ball for Oklahoma State. Buford's looking towards the rim. He wasn't looking at Woodard or McGusty, and instead the final timeout will be called by OU. So now both teams are out of timeouts. And Fran, as they were lining up, it seemed with Odoms looking under the basket, maybe at Kadeem Latin slip into the rim. Your body language next to me, you seemed a little surprised that the ball wasn't potentially going to either of the two guards.
I think because in that situation, you put a man on the ball, and you can switch that screen inside, so you got nothing. And you saw that Buford called the timeout. To me, it's really simple. Get it to your best driver, either McGusty or Woodard, and let them make a play. You know, Chuck Daly used to say, what will happen when the play breaks down? A player must make a play. There it is. Make a play.
Got it. McGusty rises up. Blocked! Oklahoma State finds a way! For the first time since 2004, the Cowboys win a Bedlam game in Norman.
I'll tell you,
tonight's player of the game, brought to you by Phillips 66, is Juwan Evans. And why not? There were moments in the game where they needed their star to carry him offensively. He had 24 and did just that.
And you know what, Bob? Besides the great performance by Evans, even though he struggled from the field, heart and toughness for Oklahoma State. And for Oklahoma, another befuddling loss in a game that they led. And you talk about demoralizing. Now watch the defense by Jeffrey Carroll. McGusty, take a look at the clock. He shoots it with 2, which means he still had 2 more dribbles. And he could have gotten into the paint. But a young player doesn't understand the dribble per second. There's the dribble, and he's shooting this with over 2 seconds on the clock with a defender in his face. He could have got to the basket. We've seen him do that tonight.
All a learning experience for a player like Cameron McGusty, who also had the big turnover when he panicked under the basket with 2 timeouts. So as well as McGusty played tonight, he finishes with 22 points to lead Oklahoma. But he'll be thinking about those last 2 plays, I'm sure, and what could have been.
It hurts when you're trying to grow up with a young team, but a great win for the Cowboys, 4 in a row. Look at the defense, Bob. 66 points. It's paying off.
Oklahoma State could be a big factor down the stretch.